You're listening to the Yin and Yang Show, a marketing and sales conversation with Lindsay Kelly and Brian Signorelli. Strategic and tactical advice about inbound sales and marketing.
Hey, welcome back to the Yin and Yang Show. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lindsay. Joined, as always, by my buddy Sig over there in HubSpot Landia, although he's in his house today.
Yep.
How you doing, Sig?
I'm doing really well. I'm gearing up for a little trip over to the Emerald Isle tomorrow night. I'll be there for the week, but I'll be back in this seat at the same time. Well, not quite the same time, but same day at least next week with you again. So yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
Awesome. I'm well, thank you. I'm ready for the weekend.
Good.
And ready for the last week in Florida of no school. So Tiny Human goes back on the 14th. It's very exciting.
Okay, so that's what, a week from Monday?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Although I am away Monday, I'm not anywhere near as exciting as you. I'm going to Minnesota
Okay.
for an inbound marketing workshop that I'm presenting
Nice.
to a newer client. And it is not on the Emerald Isle.
Yeah. I don't think I've been there, but enjoy the trip. Safe travels.
You as well.
Thank you.
And then we are rounding out. We only have a couple more summer how-to series. So we're going to jump right into how to manage your time and prospects as a sales rep.
All right. Yeah. So I'm going to jump right into that. So I was a rep for a few years at HubSpot, and I was a sales manager for a few years at HubSpot as well. And if there's one thing that I can tell you is anecdotally true, but also just so happens to be backed by data, it's that sales reps struggle to manage their time well. Specifically, one stat that I think any sales leader should be scared, should scare their pants off, is that sales reps on average spend only about 30% of their time selling. And there are a bunch of reasons why that is, which we're not going to get into today. But what I'm going to talk about is how reps can be better organized with their time and more systematically understand how to work through their lead flow so that they're more efficient, which ultimately should lead to them spending more time on the right types of activities when they are actually doing sales activities in the first place. So we'll go ahead and jump right in.
Well, this applies to both inbound leads and traditional outbound cold calling type leads, right?
It does. I think that I put cold calling and that type of prioritization at the bottom of the list if you actually have inbound leads as a company, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And there's more actually out there than just inbound leads. There's something I'll talk about called inbound companies as well. So we'll get into that, but yes, you can certainly apply these methods, regardless whether or not you are calling on leads converting through your website or you're doing outbound prospecting or calling. So the first thing that, my guidance is kind of predicated upon is whether or not you have a kick-ass marketing team that is generating leads for you on some consistent basis, or that you've had a marketing team in the past that already has built up a significant volume of leads. And this probably more typically applies to anybody who is either A, in an inside sales role, meaning you don't necessarily go out on site and visit with prospects that frequently, or B, if you are an outside rep, but you do work with an inside SDR or what's called a sales development representative, then this will also apply to you as well. So here's my guidance. Basically, there are about 3 or 4 different lead types that you should be working. And the order in which you work them, in my opinion, is very important. I think the obvious leads to work, although data, again, would show otherwise, this doesn't happen as frequently as it should, is that you should be working what are called marketing qualified leads. Other people call them sales qualified leads. Some businesses call them product qualified leads, and others yet still call them sales accepted leads, okay? Basically, all you need to know about these leads is that they are your hot leads. Generally speaking.
Just call them hot leads.
Hot leads, right? These are people who have filled out a contact us form. I mean, they basically really should meet 2 criteria. There is a set of criteria they should meet on what is called fit, meaning does this person fit well within either your buyer persona or your buyer profile? If you don't know what either one of those things are, I'm not going to cover that today. Go back into one of our previous episodes and take a listen. So they should have a high level of fit against either the buyer profile, buyer persona, or both. And then the second is that they should have a high level of fit in terms of activity. So if you think about it as like a 2x2 grid, it's people that are kind of like up, top right quadrant where they're very high fit and have had high levels of activity with your business. Generally speaking, we would call those people marketing qualified leads or sales qualified leads, or the hot leads, or any of you out there listening that are not friends, well, maybe friends, but fans of Alec Baldwin. These are the Glengarry leads. Okay, they're the golden leads, and you should be spending, for as many of those leads that you have, you should be spending all of your time with those people. Those are the people who ideally are the best fit prospects for your business and have shown a significant amount of interest and activity in at least the marketing content that your business has offered. And the general rule of thumb is you should do everything in your power to follow up and respond to those leads within ideally less than 30 minutes. Even slightly longer than that might be 1 hour. And worst case scenario, do not let more than 24 hours pass before you follow up those leads when you get them. Plenty of data has shown that there is an enormous difference between following up with somebody in even the first 5 minutes of them being on your website versus following up in the first 24 to 48 hours. So basically, timing is everything, as they say. Don't miss calling on those leads when the time is right.
And we've talked about that. Yeah, we've talked about that before. And that's where some of the tools like, it used to be called Sidekick, but now it's just HubSpot Sales. But right. it honestly gives you the notification like as soon as somebody downloads something or as soon as somebody opens something, and it allows you as the rep to go right in there, grab it, and follow up without being super creepy and saying, hey, I saw that you're on our website. Don't ever do that. Just right. letting you all know that. It should be common sense, but just in case.
Yep, absolutely. So that's the first layer, is kind of the Glengarry leads or the hot leads. Call them first, call them often. I'd recommend making sure that you kind of systematically set a series of tasks or reminders for yourself, or better yet, you could use a sales automation tool like HubSpot, for example. There are other tools out there that do this as well, that allow you to set up an automated drip email marketing campaign to follow up those leads. I'd recommend maybe once every 48 to 72 hours. Every single day is too much, and you really should be doing a combination of calling, emailing, and ideally trying to engage via social once every 48 to 72 hours. I'd probably do that anywhere from a minimum of 3 times to a maximum of 6. 4 to 5 feels about right. And then if these leads ultimately don't get back to you, or you can't get through to them, which is likely the case, that's just part of the nature of sales. Make sure that you also disposition those leads, meaning make sure that you signal to marketing that you are unable to get hold of those people, so that marketing can put them into a long-term kind of nurturing list or nurturing set of marketing activities to kind of reawaken somebody over time. Because the reality is, just because you didn't get a hold of somebody today doesn't make them a really hot qualified buyer 6 months from now, or frankly 6 years from now. You don't want to miss out on that opportunity when the time is right.
Right. Now, before you go on, people are wondering, how on earth am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to remember to follow up on social, on emailing every couple of days, and on calling? So what reps use inside of HubSpot is called sequences. And you can only get that with Office 365 hosted in the cloud or on a Gmail platform, because it has to be cloud-based. But what that allows you to do is, we've actually gone in and built this for reps before, where we'll build out a series of emails and it lets you do up to 5, but you can have as many activities as you want. So it literally tracks everything for you and then shows you every day what you're supposed to do. So one day you might be following up on LinkedIn with Sue, but you're making a call to Bob. So it organizes your day in such an amazing way. So for people who don't know what to use, you can use the HubSpot Pro tool to do that.
Right. Great advice. And you're absolutely right. There is a lot. I know it sounds overwhelming.
There's a lot out there. But
and there is. And there's certainly plenty of CRM systems that allow you to do this. The bottom line is that you have to do something. Doing nothing is not an option. Otherwise, opportunities are guaranteed to slip through the cracks. And I hate to see that happen. I've seen it happen way too many times. So that's the first layer, is work those MQLs, work them thoroughly, disposition them when you can't get through. Make sure that you lean on your confident, ideally what should be a confidant, but is not always, your marketing team, and help them help you. So that's the first bit.
That's going on to Jerry Maguire off of Glengarry Glen Ross. Help me. help you.
Exactly right. The second layer is all the leads that have come through your website that aren't necessarily marketing qualified leads. So these might be people, generally speaking, that are on the extremes of one of the two, again, going back to the axes of fit being the vertical axis and activity being the horizontal, or do whatever you want. But sometimes you're going to have people who are really high fit but have low level of activity, or people who have really high level of activity but not quite as good fit. In general, it's your my opinion is that it's your responsibility as a salesperson to move those people into the upper right quadrant. So just because somebody doesn't have very much activity with you, but you can see that they are a very strong fit relative to your buyer persona and profile, you should be able to get them on the phone and understand whether or not there is some sort of an opportunity there to work together to help the prospect, etc. And then conversely, people who appear to be poor fits are not always poor fits. They have very high levels of activity, and part of the job of a salesperson is to be continuously qualifying that group of people to understand whether or not they were bucketed appropriately. Because the reality is, it's so easy for somebody to fill out a form the wrong way. I can't tell you, for example, how many businesses at HubSpot have, how many marketing agency prospects, for example, have selected their industry as manufacturing as opposed to marketing agency, because those two industries are literally right next to each other and it's easy to make a mistake. So things like that happen.
Right.
Part of our job in sales to qualify through that. And so there should be, again, if you have an awesome marketing team and you generate, let's say, like a few hundred leads a month, or maybe a few thousand, or if you're really lucky, tens of thousands, depending on the size of your business, you should be working through a huge group of kind of what are generally referred to as white bread leads. These are leads that aren't necessarily the MQLs, the PQLs, the SQLs, but they have shown some level of interest over time, and there should be some level of opportunity to figure out whether or not there's a purchasing opportunity. So that's a second layer that I would work, is talk to people who've already expressed interest and have trusted your business enough to hand over a little bit of contact information with you. The third layer down, once you've worked through, and this, again, depends on how kind of big or how mature your digital marketing efforts have been at your company. You might have hundreds of thousands of leads to work through as a business, in which case you probably also have 10 to 100 or more than 100 sales reps working through all that lead flow, or you might not have any of that lead flow at all. So that's obviously going to dictate how long it's going to take you to work through all these leads. My personal opinion is that no sales rep can really effectively work more than about 100 to 200 leads at a time to work them thoroughly. So if you're kind of wondering, like, how many leads should I have in my name? A lot of reps kind of get this idea that they should, spray and pray, where they do these kind of, mass email campaigns of thousands of people at a time. That is a tactic that is highlighted in Aaron Ross's book, Predictable Revenue. I personally don't believe that works anymore. I do think you can get a little bit of traction there, but I think you're much better off trying to contact the people who have already expressed some interest in your business in some way, shape, or form, and seeing the extent to which there's a conversation that can be had there. So those are the first two layers. And the third layer is really
the third layer, wasn't it?
No. So the first layer was, MQLs and SQLs. And then
the white bread.
Second layer was the white breads. And then the third layer beneath that is what I call, and what HubSpot calls, inbound companies.
Okay.
Inbound
You
companies.
started going there and then you went backwards, and I was like trying to follow you. I was like, wait,
yes.
okay, now we're going back to the third. Okay.
I went sideways.
You went sideways. I was like, wait a minute. I remember white bread. And
I did.
But you said third, but I don't remember what it was.
So the third is inbound companies.
Okay.
And regardless of your company's marketing efforts, I am 100% positive that you have inbound companies to work. So here's what an inbound company is. An inbound company is every single business that has visited your company's website, but a person from that business has not necessarily revealed who they are.
The anonymous visitors, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have those all the time.
Exactly. So this is about 98, 99% of your website traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And these people, the reality is, for every 1,000 hits, there's some stats out there that say that, half of all website traffic are bots just pinging a website and crawling stuff. But there are, again, tools and technology. HubSpot does have some technology to do this. There are others out there as well that will basically be able to do what's called a reverse IP lookup to match back that anonymous visitor to a company's domain. Now, if you see traffic coming from AT&T or Verizon,
Or Google.
Google, any major internet service provider or telecom carrier, 99% chance Google is not interested in your business. It's actually a bot or something else. Same thing with Verizon, AT&T. That traffic is actually pooled traffic across multiple consumer IPs. So again, don't get all freaked out and excited. We're like, oh my God, AT&T wants to buy from us. We're going to go whale hunting today.
I totally did that with my first agency. We were like, Google looked at us? What? And then I was like, wait a minute. No, Google didn't look at us. Google didn't look at us.
Now, look, if your business generally sells to the Fortune 100 and you see those businesses there, sure, there may actually be some traction.
Right.
But
like if you're providing the copiers to Google, then most likely they are going to your website.
Yes, exactly. But if you typically don't sell to businesses like that, or never have, or have no plans to, and have done no marketing effort to drive that sort of behavior, then there's almost 100% chance that it's not what you think it is. So ignore that, basically, is my advice. And look for other businesses that look more like the types of businesses that you work with. And that is a hugely rich source of lead flow. Now, you might be saying, geez, what do you mean it's lead flow? I just see that it's a company. Well, my recommendation there is, the company, take that information, go into LinkedIn, start trying to figure out who you are connected with, either at a first, second, or third level connection. And then that's another means through which you can initiate some outreach. Or ideally, you should have a sense of the type of person you typically work with.
Your buyer persona.
Exactly, it's your buyer persona. So even
and
if
what
you don't
pages
know
they
who the
went
company
to.
is, that's right. So even if you don't know who the company, even if you don't know who that person is, you should know who to look for. So you say, all right, well, it's somebody from HubSpot, and we typically work with the head of IT. So maybe there's a chance the head of IT or one of his or her staff members were on our website. So let me go through LinkedIn and try to figure out who it is that works on, the IT management team at HubSpot. And let me see if I know any connections there and see if I can start a conversation, get an introduction. This is not rocket science. This is just kind of using the tools at your disposal to figure out how to start conversations. So those are the three big ones. And then I think beyond that, again, this really depends on the type of sales and marketing work you do. Depends if you're inside, outside. Depends if you rely heavily on cold calling versus not at all. There's also, I don't want to ignore the fact that you should spend some time going through target account prospecting if you're doing any account-based marketing. This is typically your whale hunting, where you have a very dedicated and focused marketing effort in conjunction with the sales team. These are typically named accounts, maybe 5, 10, 15 businesses max at any given time that you are systematically trying to win over. These are companies that are going to take a long time usually to win over and start conversations, but that's another area to add on to your list of kind of prioritization. And the other kind of little things that I'd make sure that you use tools at your disposal to figure out the timing of when to follow up with somebody, aside from like a lead revisit notification or an email open notification. Get tools like an RSS feed or Google Alerts to work for you. Any company that you are prospecting, let's say you have 100 companies you're prospecting at any given time, you should have every single one of those companies set up in a Google Alert, so you kind of get a digest of any news or any action. We call those trigger events. Trigger events are things like, company raised funding, company hired more employees, company had executive leadership change, company merged with a company, acquired a company. Those are all times where they tend to be big times of change for a business. And oftentimes that means that something either is going well and they want to go even better, or something isn't going very well at all and it needs to change. And in sales, as we know, our biggest enemy is the objection called do nothing. So trigger events suggest that the company might have more appetite to do something as opposed to nothing. So use those to your advantage. And then you can do other simple things too, like set up a folder in your email inbox and subscribe to every single prospect's blog that you follow.
Great
and
idea.
This is a digest sending in, and I can kind of flip through, and that's an easy way to start a conversation with someone. Say, hey, I noticed you guys publish X, Y, Z. How's that going for you? Or how's that working? Or you got to tie it back obviously somehow to
right. Or even like if you're using the sequences tool, like when you go to set up sequences, you're doing that one-to-one. So yes, it's templated, but you have to go in and customize it before you're able to say yes, send the sequence out. Use it in there somehow. Hey, and by the way, congratulations on the new office that opened here. And link to the article. Show that you're paying attention to them. So that's a great idea.
Yeah. Absolutely. So just a quick recap. I know we're trying to keep these short how-tos. Probably hasn't been so short today, but
that's good. This is a good one.
Bottom line is that 70% of your time is spent on non-selling activities. So how do you make more or better use of the time that you are actually selling? My advice is use a prioritization method such as the one we went through today, which is start by working your MQLs or your hot leads, then move down into the inbound leads or the kind of white bread leads, everything that's not an MQL. Then move to inbound companies. And then beyond that, like I said, if you have target accounts, spend some time there. And then use other kind of content-based tools to your advantage. Like, again, Google Alerts, the RSS feeds, and setting up kind of a dedicated inbox where you can subscribe and get every update on every blog any one of your prospects writes. Make technology work for you, not against you.
That's awesome. Great advice. That was a really good one today. So thank you. Guys, again, summer is winding down. A couple more of these how-tos, and then we're back to our normal free-flowing long format. But you can always find Brian Sig at Inbound Seller on Twitter. You can find me at LV Kelly with an EY. And folks, until next time, keep the conversation going.
Yeah, keep talking.
You've been listening to the Yin and Yang Show, a marketing and sales conversation with Lindsay Kelly and Brian Signorelli. Join us online at yinandyang.fm.